Karnak's not afraid to ride dinosaurs. Can you imagine having the genetic potential to have superpowers, but you just never went through the process of getting your meta-human powers activated? That's the Inhuman known as Karnak. He's technically a part of the Inhuman society that just didn't go through Terrigenesis like the other Inhumans. You know other Inhumans like I did on my channel before, like Black Bolt, or awesome dogs like Lockjaw. That's basically Karnak. He started off as a strategic advisor for the Inhumans royal family, but just didn't go through Terrigenesis. But instead, he will study, he will train. Considering there are dozens of characters in Marvel that don't have superpowers that are really skilled and trained and still have superhuman qualities, training in Marvel is quite a big deal, and that's what Karnak did. He has a psychic gift for detecting flaws and vulnerabilities in things. He's also gifted in hand-to-hand combat. Even if Karnak didn't go through Terrigenesis, he technically should be above your normal human thanks to his inhuman physiology. They do talk about how his metabolism is also more efficient, granting him endurance level and his peak levels, quote unquote. I mean, they called him the Shatterer for a reason. It's literally stated he did not need Terrigenesis to be great. He just literally earned his ability to detect weaknesses because of skills. Karnak has the ability, thanks to his training, not Terrigenesis, gave him the ability to detect weaknesses in any person, object, or situation. His strength isn't super crazy, but it's still implications of superhumanness, like being able to do stuff like this and lift heavy stuff like that. When it comes to strength for Karnak, Black Panther even says it seems like his strength is more than human. Karnak lifting this big old boat up like this. Simply being trained in Marvel enough can give you superhuman attributes, but his striking powers will make him really scary. But before I get to that, he has agility and quickness to dash through this guy's live wire, disarms this guy with the quickness, great observation skills and reflexes on top of, sees a man going for his gun and reacts as such. He has fighting speed to split the bullet in half while it's mid-flight, showing his fighting speed. Literally split in half. Chop. Speed. Black Panther complements his speed of the bounding cheetah. Beings like the Thing, when it comes to Karnak's speed, it says he never saw that attack coming. Enough fighting speed to dodge energy attacks from Iron Man, some speed blitz type stuff. Literally stated that Karnak's hands move as swiftly as the wind, exploring and exploiting his enemy's frailty. Stated I couldn't even see his arm move because of Karnak's fighting speed. I don't think this is an exaggeration. They talk about how he has a lightning swift chop. Being as fast as lightning in Marvel isn't no big deal, so I don't think this is an exaggeration. He's fast enough to be able to hit all these beings with one or a couple chops really quickly, even though he's outnumbered. Notice how Karnak is fast enough to react to super soldier tiers like Black Widow and even take her down with a hit like that, showing his competence when it comes to the super soldier type folk. In this occasion, he was able to blitz this dude and shatter the gun without being hit, and chopping power right. That man even asked him, one man alone, unarmed? Must be insane. Nope, not insane. Metal is nothing but beings like Karnak's striking power. Look how he strikes this thick tree like that with a chop. Folk out here saying that's impossible. This dude cleanly chopped through a freaking pillar. It even narrates a sharp cracking sound echoes through the mountain range. Base of the cliff. It is split like a stone diamond. We are faced by a power more than equal to our weapon. You get a perspective of how it looks. Because of skills, it's narrated that he can strike with a hand which can split mountainous masses, spurtly descends. In the recreation room, Crystal and Johnny react to the resulting tremor. Like he made a tremor throughout the building. John, do you feel that? Yeah, the building is dancing with us. Karnak shattered this entrance to this big cave. In this occasion, they called him world-shattering Karnak. Man, they going crazy with these terms. Hits the street so hard he makes rubble fly in the air to bury the Hulk in this occasion. Big, thick pillars he chops. Karnak finds a weak point in Ultron and hurts him. On more than one occasion. Strikes a prison made of sub-zero ice. Superhuman striking power. This guy brought a castle down by knowing the weak points with one strike. He can break through a slab that can withstand Gorgon's strongest blows, one of the physically stronger human folk. Chops right through Danger Room Robot. He even believes he could shatter the entire helicarrier. We all know helicarriers can weigh hundreds of thousands of tons, right? It depends on how you calculate it, though. Supposedly, Karnak can strike hard enough to disarm Thor. When Vision was going intangible, Karnak vibrated his hands a certain way so he can touch an intangible being like Vision. Karnak can chop big slabs like that. Just this big old pillar. Attack seemed to affect Richard Rider to some degree, a powerhouse tier. Looking like he got a headache. Beings that are this big, it don't matter the size. He even fought Old Man Logan and gave him a kick. Monkey get curb stomped with a kick. Kree soldiers bleed from his kicking power. Vox Maximus with a couple punches, he was able to take him out. Look how he does this tree. Stone being thrown at him at high speeds. He can use his skill, put his hands in a weird position like this, and shatter the rocks with his striking power. Karnak was able to chop this big old chunk. One of his most absurd feats of all time was able to knock out Silver Surfer, supposedly before the Silver Surfer could use his cosmic power, and was able to knock him out with this chunk he threw at him. I thought his durability was always on, but yeah, I guess in this comic, his cosmic power had to be on for him to have durability, I guess. Striking power can damage Iron Man's armor, even his top tier armor. Hits this train using his weak spot skills to pull out the motor. Karnak even talks about what Spider-Man's weakness is. Part of the reason why he can strike so good, like I mentioned a couple seconds ago, is that his perception to be able to perceive weaknesses, whether it be structural, geological, psychological, these flaws appear like beacons that guide the way to the weakness. Like you see his perception to this big old creature, it's like this is how he sees. He even states it matters not the size of the structure nor the material from which it is made. Everything has an imperfection that can be traced to one single point and exploited. To him, everything has a flaw, brother. Everything and everyone. But he's talking about except for Black Bolt, you know. In the heat of combat, he even states your combat skills are exceptional, but I will find a weakness in your technique, he said. Like he was able to strike a building's weak point because of his knowledge with basically knowing the pressure points of any object, even building, just made the entire building collapse. This big behind diamond block, he can shatter it like this, and he's been doing so for months. And he was doing it over and over again, and didn't have to wait long to crack him through studies when it comes to diamonds. I mean, he's doing this over and over again, and in real life, it takes weeks or months to examine a diamond, let alone break it. Karnak's striking power can slice tables in half like nothing. Big blocks of marble, guess what? He can chop them like that. Some of these feats are just chalked up to him knowing the weaknesses, but some of this stuff is just straight striking power, like how he just strikes the door, and it literally flies off the hinges. Like this ain't just no weak spot. He can just strike freaking hard at this point, on top of his knowing of weak parts too. Look at this big demon, right? Not only avoided the attack, but he was strong enough to take this big thing down with a single chop. Yeah, he can just strike hard. Finding the weakest point among the rocks below to create a sudden shockwave, like all this debris. Unbreakable Wakandan crystal, he can just use his fingernail to draw on it. They even state unbreakable Wakandan crystal. He can just, because of his knowledge of weaknesses, right? Oh yeah, by the way, this ancient Wakandan crystal, he shatters it with his raw power. He was in containment. Karnak, see him drawing this with his fingernails, was able to break through it. A supposed Hulk-proof cell, this shouldn't be undersold. Metal doors, he can blow away with a touch, and they go flying that freaking far, and he can chop with that much force. Metal. After it, he uses the shards from the pillar to take them out with the aim before they can retaliate, like it ain't no big deal. That he's strong enough to fight robots that are way bigger than him. Like, look at the size comparison. Does this to this robot's giant leg. Just to give you a true perception of how big this being is, and he can literally chop it like that. Look how Medusa looks compared to it. Using his striking power with the weakest point, it falls over. He just likes one-shotting robots, especially after learning their weaknesses. The robot's weak points are revealed to be many. That's why he can one-shot them. Makes this thick tree fall. This wasn't no little tree, guys. Like, look at the side. Like, yeah, just some super soldier-ish type stuff. You get more visuals on Karnak's striking power. Look how he makes like indentions in the ground with punches like that. Mess up folks' footing. Look at Karnak's striking power here, how he has his foot and all this happens. Even objects like this, Karnak does this with striking to make it fall. Ruptured this guy's liver with like, it looks like a simple touch, then does the same to his leg. Like, what the? It's literally stated that Karnak hit with a blow with enough power to waste an elephant, something that super soldiers usually do in Marvel. By the way, this weak spot thing doesn't work on everybody. Like, if you're just too strong, you're just too strong. Like the Hulk, for example, is not as weak as an elephant, they narrate. And we try to use this, hey, you can find the kryptonite in anybody. Like, nah. The character got too much durability, man. Their weakest point is still gotta have a certain amount of power. Maybe if Karnak had the strength of Century, he can pierce armor that can withstand the force of a meteorite. His computer-like mind scans the selected spot beyond human comprehension. Weakest point is near here. And he does like a little engraving, but he created all of that. Molasses-like substances seem to be hard for him to shatter too. A good example on how this weakness thing doesn't work on everything. There's some stuff that just literally do not have weaknesses, yo. It's just too much power, and it takes someone with a lot more raw power output, like Black Bolt, to break through something. Like Black Bolt can, and he couldn't, even though he knows weaknesses. So some stuff just ain't got the weaknesses. His fighting speed, strength, and knowing weaknesses allows him to do superhuman stuff while fighting armed guards by himself. Takes on a mob of him with a mixture of his combat speed and skills. They all kind of just get completely curbed, stomped to where they can't even react or land a single hit. I mean, look at this dude's neck, his guts, his gun is messed up. Even fought monsters that were dropping from the ceiling. He simply smiled and starts chopping away at them. He even says, where's the flaw? He's annoyed and clapping them. There's a heavy implication that these monsters are moving like a blur the way they're drawn here. Still got the power to chop his arm like that. Chop away, kick. Panel's kind of long. They're still getting handled, and he puts in that work. And he seems to be headless. He's so skilled that even telepaths use his weakness scanning abilities, keeping Karnak under their influence solely so you can patch into his weakness awareness to help accomplish your goal. Basically proves that other folk find Karnak's abilities useful. All three of these guards, Karnak, curb stomp, literally no head. Beings that have the edge over him, like long range attacks to where it's hard to close the distance. Using energy blast against Karnak, he still is able to fight these type of beings regardless of all this mess. Look how Karnak's able to kick a slab of the floor and make it launch like that. 3 fully armed folk, it doesn't matter. He curb stomps all of them anyway. When it comes to raw skills, he's skilled enough to do this to Black Widow. He's skilled enough to take down things way bigger than him. Look how he intricately counters his opponent's attack like such. Even beings that a lot of people would say they'll have the strength advantage. He's even skilled enough to fight a scroll copy of himself and raw skills. The scroll that can do the same thing he can by finding weaknesses. He tries to do this against Karnak. Karnak simply counters it by not going for the weakness like he would expect, because him having his skills, he would expect him to go for weaknesses. Karnak says, oh, okay, I'm going to catch you off guard and not go for your weaknesses and just fight you because I got skills. Single taps to the temple. He can knock you out that way. Tosses the thing in the air. He took down several opponents, what appears to be like one chop. It could have been more than one, though. Like the line went that way. Against one of the poster boys of Super Soldier Tears in Marvel, Daredevil himself. But Daredevil's one of those few people that can actually match his skills. It was stated that was aimed for my brachial plexus. If I haven't caught it, I'd be paralyzed right now at best. So Daredevil even knows his skill level. This was like a worthiness test or whatever, showing that they can't keep up with each other in raw fighting speed or skilling, etc. But at the end of the day, Karnak could take this L, I would say. Well, Daredevil was one of the best fighters in Marvel. So, losing to one of the best fighters is okay. Karnak is actually able to deduce that he's blind because he literally just went completely silent. He's a monk. He knows the techniques. Held his breath, stilled his heart, waited until the very last moment to unleash a kick that would pour my brains out over Medusa's floor. But Daredevil still able to counter this though. But yeah, Karnak was a beast able to figure all this out during combat. This is a concrete super soldier tier, like how Daredevil can spin around hundreds of pounds like nothing, like a pole staff. Same guy that can react to stuff in microseconds, which is 1/1,000,000th of a second. Karnak's definitely up there with them super soldiers in Marvel. Karnak and raw skills got like in a little tussle with Black Panther, one of the most skilled warriors in Marvel. Back in the older comic. One thing I will say about Karnak is that when it comes to his durability, he can end the fight quickly, but if the fight drags out too long and the opponent's is skilled like Black Panther, they can actually one-shot him if they get a clean hit. For example, he was even able to detect the weaknesses in Black Panther, but it didn't really matter because Black Panther hit him too quick. Same with occasions like Mantis. Your best bet is to take out a person like Karnak quickly before he really figures you out all the way. This is similar to the Hulk example on how, if a force field is just too strong, it's just too strong. He even figures out he's an illusion in this psychic thing and he break out of their control. Starting to figure out he knows this isn't real. When it comes to certain shields though, I can perceive its flaws, certain subharmonic weaknesses in its wavelength. He even perceived the weakness in this guy's beliefs to help interrogate him better. Geological stuff like perceiving a fault line from very high up in the vantage point. That's how he sees. He can even deduce that some people's weaknesses is just being too excited. He discovers a weakness in his soul prison. He says no prison can hold me for long. He's able to recognize when something's a trap door thanks to his discipline. There was a being that was a human bomb. He safely detonates him because of skills. Respect Karnak, man. The X-Men, while they were strategizing against him, they said we gotta take him out first because he's already seen a flaw that the current mutant Inhuman truce is bound to fail before starting their war with the Inhumans and stuff. He could even crack undecipherable scroll code. So it shows that he has a decent level of intellect on top of him being able to find weaknesses in code as well. He's just somebody you want to have on your team at all times. He went in looking for a single weakness in their communication system. His classic quote says it again, there's always a weakness. So one could say he can find weaknesses in the other person's battle strategies. Whoever's working with Karnak can get the head lead or advantage over the team they're about to face. Yeah, put this guy in the military. Karnak can do or sing his own death note to counter frequencies because he knows how to detect weaknesses and sounds too. He states even transmission of sound has a flaw, a frequency that would disrupt their frequency. All I need to do was find the sound that broke the song. They asked him, are you Satan? They're letting you know, like, how do you even do something like that? To find a frequency that can counter another frequency. Somebody make that crap make sense. Tie him up or something in case he wakes up. Jean Grey said, I'm not sure there's a knot that would hold him. Jean Grey considers him a threat, one of the most dangerous. His fighting skills, notice how he kicked Iron Man here. But yeah, he did get overwhelmed by this many Avengers. Like, this was too many though, but he held him off for a second. Comes to skills, it's implied that characters like Human Torch get tossed like it's nothing. To further prove his skills, Karnak is so skilled, he's even fought one of the greatest hand-to-hand fighters in Marvel history, Taskmaster, a guy that has like all our favorite characters' fighting styles, and I got a video about Taskmaster too. It's always occasions like this where it's like a lot of stuff going on and Karnak and him don't strictly just get to fight by themselves. Beings on this tier can beat each other. Pure skills, one could say he's the best in Atalan, which is impressive considering that just because he might not be the strongest, there's some powerhouses in Atalan that are very skilled as well. Like, you know, the king himself, Black Bolt. A lot of people underestimate other powerhouse type Inhumans like Black Bolt who can use a sword, like beating Ronan in his sword duel. In this occasion, Ben Grimm even says it's like fighting another Daredevil when it comes to skill, stated there. And Black Bolt is skilled, but his main thing that he specializes in is voice. I would argue that Karnak is a better skilled person just because that's what he has to rely on more. Black Bolt has a lot of skill because he's the king, obviously, and he's physically a powerhouse too, and his crazy voice, but he always has to rely on his just skills that he had to teach himself, being able to perceive weaknesses and things of that such. It's a big part of his mental fortitude at lore. Slugged it out with characters like Nightcrawler. Skills-wise, he's able to defend off other Inhuman characters' attacks, like fend them off like Gorgon. Skilled enough to put the hands on characters like Magneto. Gain the advantage over this being known as the Pursuer. He fought a virtual X-Men, a being known as Triton, using his skills. Karnak put him to sleep. When you see them fingers out, you might want to run. Some of this stuff just got to be power. I mean, he curb stomped Mr. Hyde, who was like team busting everybody else. Like Miss Marvel was a part of this group, and he comes in and like super chops, some speed blitz type stuff. Part of this is speed and stuff. They said you paralyzed them. He said not permanently. It won't last more than a week. Defeats a whole bunch of giant spiders because of skill. Skilled enough to take on Blackstar's minions, part of his skills mixed with fighting speed and strength. Chops this opponent. He used his skills with one strike to disable someone to the human powers, then the next move to literally paralyze them because of his skills. Can hurt you by literally tapping on your arm a certain way. He knows Nerve Strike. He can detect the flaws in technology where he can destroy it properly. Karnak was literally able to break a force field thanks to his skills that was surrounding Miles Morales during the Civil War stuff. Karnak's one of them characters like, how the heck can he do these things just with peak human strength? I mean, come on now. He reminds me of Karate Kid from DC Comics. He could just catch Scarlet Witch slipping without her shields down and mess her up, you know? He's somebody you cannot underestimate, or if you ain't got your defenses up, he could get a quick W over you. Karnak is one of those characters that could be great, but what do you guys think? Do you think he's underestimated? Do you think he should technically be above the Super Soldier tier? Even maybe above the Spider-Man tier based on his feats? I mean, heck, he even found weaknesses in Ultron. Not to mention, technically, he should have a physical advantage over the average person because of his inhuman physiology. Even if he never went through Terrigenesis, it should just give him a physical edge, just like in this bio confirmed. They even listed here in highest metabolism, increasing them in different ways. Superior human heritage. You know, it's just obvious. But I'm still interested to hear you guys' thoughts. He's one of those characters that technically should be above the Super Soldier tier, just like how Wonder Man should technically be equal to Hercules or Thor tiers in their bases. But he suffers a lot of losses to people in that tier. A lot of that probably has something to do with popularity. There's no incentive to have him actually be shown off the right way in Karnak. I would say Karnak is like an elite when it comes to just raw fighting skills. To be able to train yourself to be able to just literally see the weaknesses in anything, not just physical, but like people's emotions, their arguments and everything. But I also want to give a quick shout out to everyone that has donated to the channel. It does help out a lot. Your love is not going unnoticed.